Game company trying to use excuse to lay off their employees, while Sweet Baby actually fired one of their employees. Before we jump into conclusion, I don't think those incidents are as simple as we might all imagine. Hello there, how's your day? Ame Gakita there. So obviously, today random chat we are going to talk about something that a lot of people don't really like, which is the word layoff, fire, or voluntary resign. But we kind of like sit down and think about it. Obviously, all this incident that happened within game company, in a way, I would definitely say that those companies don't, or the employee may not earn my pity, sympathy, whatever you want to call it along the line. But at the same time, you really can't tell me to go and say that I must still support those game company when they doing this kind of questionable tactic. So obviously we're going to talk about three different companies. Number one is Street Baby Inc., then followed up by Ubisoft, and then one of the all-time favorite company that a lot of people love. And now it's kind of like you have to question, like, do you want to support this company at this point? Which is one of the Japanese game company, Bandai. So before we kind of like jump into every single one of them, let's go and talk about Sweet Baby Inc. first. So apparently one of their so-called problematic employees by the name Kindred, who actually kind of like start the whole ordeal of bring Sweet Baby Inc. to the surface and let people know more about the issue of Sweet Baby Inc. and the damage they did to game industry. So in a way, when finally everyone said that, oh, he's out, well, actually, kind of like a lot of people report about it. Match JD-san report about it. Hirohyu-san talk about it. Rev Say Desu also talk about it. But in a way, when you kind of like sit down and think about it, I actually agree with Hyo-san more than anyone else, because actually he actually did highlight one point in his video, and that is like he don't think that this kind of firing is as simple as we all might think. And I actually kind of covered this kind of situation before, and I actually do agree with him a lot, because when he actually got so-called being reported being kicked out of the company, and like Master of TDS actually reported that he got insider telling him that Kindred is out, I don't think I do want to trust anyone from Sweet Baby at this point of time, especially when their own CEO is really kind of like problematic in many ways, and we'll talk about that in a while. So the thing is, right, when they kind of like say that the reason why he was kicked out, it was that he was considered the most problematic one. He was the one who brings Sweet Baby into the surface of the ocean, where everyone start realizing the problem they did along the line. I think that the insider might be trying to, like, I actually agree that the insider might be trying to indicate that, hey, we got the problematic guy out, please stop hating on Sweet Baby Inc. Dude, you can't just tell everyone that the problematic guy is out, you should not be hating Sweet Baby Inc. When the Sweet Baby Inc. have been going around destroying a lot of game along the line, and their CEO have been going along and lying and trying to so-called build back the trust of her, or trying to build back her reputation when it's never even existed in the first damn place, and more so that she actually freaking used a slur to name her pet. Like, I have no freaking idea what she's trying to do at this point of time, and she actually named a freaking pet after a slur, and I was like, dude, that's the worst thing you name your pet at this point of time. Are you trying to prove to the whole world that you are a racist at this point of time, when you are trying to stop racism in this world? Like, dude, anyone try, like, it's really kind of like surprised me to no extent that when a person say, I'm starting to stop racism, like, I have stopped saying like I'm trying to stop racism, because it's like every time I try to stop racism, I get called a hypocrite, I've been called a racist along the line, and I'm like, dude, if this is how I get involved, ain't no way I'm gonna get involved anymore. Because if people want to fight over racism, by all means go ahead. I'm not gonna stop it anymore, because I've been kind of like being called out by black community themselves over this sort of thing in the first damn place. So when you kind of like having this kind of people going around saying that, oh, we are trying to stop racism, oh, actually we are actually a racist face against the white people along the line, like, I have no idea like what they are trying to prove at this point. More so when even when people say that Kindred is out, I don't think it's that simple at all. It's just that when you have one people out doesn't mean the company is gonna be good, okay? You already got a freaking CEO who is problematic, so the only way for the company to gain trust is by being non-existent at this point of time. I mean, I'm not trying to say that everyone must be hated. When you have a lot of people in the freaking company going around admitting that their goal was to burn the game industry to the ground, or even when anyone going to say that their goal is trying to say that, hey, we're trying to rejuvenate the game industry, when all you guys have been doing is just adding propaganda, agenda, or ideology to game that it doesn't make sense in the first damn place. Even like politics stuff is like, please just throw it out the window and don't put it into game, for goodness sake. But sure and no, they will not do this kind of thing. They will just go and say that, hey, let's kick the most problematic guy out of the company and say that, oh, it's alright. I mean, like, it's sure the guy may have actually no mention of Sweet Baby Inc. Sure, the person will just been well known for the most having a lot of problematic tweet along the line, but I don't think he's going anywhere away from gaming industry, considering that previously Ubisoft themselves actually hired a ex-employee from Sweet Baby Inc. So I won't even be surprised if Chris Kindred somehow, someway, somewhere, and now in another game company as a writer, as a game creator, or as a producer, whatever he want to name himself, and then he just said that, oh, I was not working in Sweet Baby, oh, I just used to work for games along the line, and this is all my resume along the line. Maybe you want to take a look. So when you actually consider this kind of thing, I wouldn't even be surprised if he worked in the game industry, just kind of like under low profile, hoping that people forget about him. And Sweet Baby, and even if they say that Sweet Baby Inc. had no tie to him, he can probably just, okay, you know what, let me get out of the company, maybe I'll be considered the most problematic one, and then let's still continue to go and destroy more game company at this point of time. I feel like that may be like Hiro-san actually talk about it. I believe that kind of thing might be possible, because when I look at it, when I talk about how Ubisoft hired one of the ex-employee from Sweet Baby Inc., I don't think this kind of firing, or this kind of like being, oh, he's fired or he's being laid off along line, is anything but just one way to trying to get him out, so that people won't attach Sweet Baby Inc. Hopefully that's what they think, as well as that maybe he's just going to another game company along the line. So if anyone say that, oh, he's out, I don't think as simple as you might thought. I mean, like, you can just say that maybe I'm just speculating too much or overthinking things, but considering that Sweet Baby Inc. had history of doing it before, I don't really want to like jump to conclusion saying that, hey, maybe game healing, because there are actually a lot of people saying that in order for Sweet Baby Inc. to gain back like so-called their trust is by being non-existent. So to what extent, I do not know. I mean, like, considering that like I mentioned, their CEO is really the most problematic one, but I don't think that is the only problematic one though. I mean, like, there's already like the Ubisoft having like a lot of people creating a lot of trouble, and it's kind of like funny when we talk about Ubisoft, when they say like insider reviewing that the work industry is in full panic mode, the problem with the Assassin's Creed Shadow along the line, and the game so-called been delayed. Yeah, I actually did talk about how the game company being hated as well, as kind of like highlight in the video that I don't even gonna give any sympathy if the company start laying off their members or their employees along the line. And I did kind of like speculate that it may be around like a few thousand employees that is going to get laid off. And how and behold, it didn't take long for them to actually talk about it. So as reported by JT-san again, apparently Ubisoft employee had gone on a strike, all because the company said that if you don't want to work in the company and you choose to work at home instead, oh, you know what, we're gonna lay you off because you can't comply with the work in the office criteria. So it kind of like got a lot of people mad, and the work at home situation, right, is actually very popular within the COVID era, when kind of like when you don't really want to get the virus itself and you kind of don't want to spread the virus if you are infected with it in the first place. So obviously working at home actually help a lot, and more so a lot of people actually do love the idea of working at home, because not only do you spend more friendly time at home, well, you also can tend to able to do way more stuff, like not just your work, you can also plan your do your house chore, do some laundry along the line. And when you kind of consider that, working at home seems to be a better way, because you as well save money on food as well as traveling, so you don't really need to spend that much money. But on the other hand, when you kind of like sit down and think about it, the company say that no, you must not work at our company, if not we're gonna lay you off. And now it's kind of like, I actually agree with JT-san that is saying like this layoff doesn't seem as simple as we might all think. It's because when you kind of like think about it, I did talk about it before as well, is that the company is really failing already. The so-called Star Wars outlet was supposed to bring them money, but instead of bringing them money, it actually got even more criticism. It got a lot of people hating on it. They don't make a lot of money. And the Assassin's Creed Shadow that was supposed to be released next month in November 2024, instead of like getting released, they decided to push it back because of the backlash in Japan as well as all over the world. So when you kind of like sit down and think about it, obviously the game is not going to be making them money, and even if they do get released, it will be even funnier if they even make a lot of money from it, because it's going to bring them into the red. So when you kind of like sit down and think about it, their stock market have been kind of like falling on a free fall along the line, to the point that their investors are so angry that they are demanding either the CEO be kicked out or sell the company along the line. So that ultimately actually kind of like do have a very huge bad effect on the company itself, and that is considering that it may need to lay off few thousand employees. So considering that right now the company don't want to kind of highlight that, hey, we need to lay off you guys so that the company can go private along the line, obviously they will try to think of ways to lay off those people, and that is by voluntary resignation or giving excuses to lay them off, or termination along the line. And considering that at the same time they are doing it right now, I wouldn't even be surprised the timing is actually perfect. Anyone who actually do work in company before do understand one of the things is that bonuses tend to be released around November and December depending on the policy of the company, and that when you actually kind of sit down about it, if you kind of like lay them off, or if you let them voluntarily resign, you not only do you not need to pay them the sovereign pay, they can also need not to pay them the bonus that they will be due within like 1 or 2 months time. So when you kind of like sit down and think about it, hey, that's kind of like crazy in a way, because there is a lot of companies that give bonuses. Some give twice per year, some give once per year, depending on, I know some company don't give, that depend on the company. But when you have bonuses that is kind of like supposedly to do in 1 or 2 months, and the company say that, hey, you know what, I'm not going to give you the bonus, I'm going to severe you, I'm going to terminate you, I'm going to lay off you, I'm going to fire you along the line, and if not, you can just say sayonara and kiss your ass goodbye along the line. It's like, this is not just only crazy in so many ways, because it's kind of like one of show that the company is already crazy along by not listening to the gamers' feedback. 2, they don't even care about their employee, which I highlight long ago. So it's really kind of like just showing that they are now trying to say that they are going on strike to say that the company is black. Hell, the company is already crazy in the first damn place. And they now making noise about it. It's like, dude, if the company actually fall because of it, I won't even be surprised anymore. So it's kind of like, it does kind of like show that karma is starting to hit the company in the most unexpected way. But to what extent, I will have to highlight that I wouldn't even show any sympathy, because the so-called layoff, right, some of them is really kind of like not helping in any way. Some even go around and attacking other people over the game itself, or people who are hating on the game itself. So when you kind of like having those problematic employees, obviously although there are some who really don't deserve that layoff, but when you kind of like consider this the whole Ubisoft, you have to sit down and think that, hey, if you want to hate on Ubisoft and you work for Ubisoft, you go and hate the freaking company itself, okay? Don't go and hate the gamer for trying to bring the company down. It's because it's that if you work in the company, you don't just say that, hey, I'm getting paid and not, I just do whatever that is paid of me. Like, if you actually voice out and start highlighting and tell everyone that the company is already problematic in the inside out, then obviously people will support you. People will say the layoff is unjustifiable. But when the company is already this F out, people is not going to even give a damn care to the employer as well, even at this point of time. So in a way, when I highlight the company is going to lay off a lot of people, this highlight that my speculation was true and that is coming to a full circle. So in a way, it won't be long before the company is going to be even in more F out situation at this point of time. And I don't think that this is the only company that we need to talk about voluntary resignation. So another company that I actually mentioned, the third company, is basically Bandai or Bandai Namco, which belong to a Japanese company, but they actually do highlight that it kind of like got itself into a big trouble when there is a lot of people actually reporting why there is game cancer, there is a lot of people hating on the company along the line. So while they actually do highlight that they are thrilled to learn that their newest Dragon Ball game, the Sparkling Zero, has sold around 3 million copies in 24 hours, the report after that did not go well. So apparently that Naruto and One Piece game or any other game has also been cancelled with layoff being planned by the same company. It kind of like get a lot of people wondering like what the hell are they even doing? Like what made Bandai one of the one of the game company out there is One Piece, Naruto and many other game. But it's kind of like weird that a lot of my favorite game like the Teal series and many other game that actually kind of like never have secrets or the company not giving any love to it is because they are just thinking about money at this point of time. So apparently that just because Dragon Ball is getting more and more popular lately, instead of like hiring more employees, instead of hiring more staff, instead of building out more game studio to have kind of like you won't hear me saying this word in the game industry in a way. It's basically diversing all your resources into the game, different game. So you have like one game studio for one Piece, you got one studio for Dragon Ball, one studio for Naruto or any other game. Instead of like diversing that resources, they decided to say that hey, we're gonna kick one company out, we're gonna lay off these people, all by sending them to the banishment room. So in case anyone want to know, that is actually a traditional Japanese probe by sending people to room they were supposed to that have nothing to do and putting them pressure to leave voluntarily. So obviously a lot of people will be saying that hey, you paying me to not do anything, isn't that a dream job? When you're not supposed to do anything, it's actually within like a way to tell the employees that hey, we don't want you here, get out. So often more than not, they will also like, although not reported, it like by a lot of people, it actually do include like people bad-mouthing you, people putting stress on you, people telling you to leave along the line or hinting you to leave along the line. And when you kind of like sit down and think about it, obviously it's not a good thing. But I'm not saying that this kind of thing is not unheard of, considering that there is actually a practice or which is known as chasing out room or boredom room. The only thing is that this one is kind of like like I mentioned, if they want to like in Japan, if when people are sent to that room, often more than not, there is two kind of room. There is which I will talk about the second meaning of the room, which is basically to make them disheartened and resign. And that when they get resigned, not only do they consider a voluntary resignation, but they don't need to get paid severe pay or bonuses as well. So in a way, it is really kind of the more crazy thing ever. But what a lot of people didn't realize that the banishment room, right, do have another purpose as well, which is basically that telling the employee to come up with new ideas. So considering that when you kind of like think about games like One Piece or Naruto, a lot of games lately have been like just say that, you know what, like we release games of like the same game every single time, but the only difference is that adding new character, changing or adding words like 1, 2, 3 or pasting a new title to the game and say that it's a whole new different game along the line, when all in fact it's just basically the old game with new character and nothing new. So obviously when you sit down and think about it, obviously it didn't sit well with many people. And obviously when you kind of like think about like the criticism online when there is like YouTube or people along the line, it's like, why can't you just kind of like add DLC to the old game and just say that, hey, this is the new character, and it's just basically the same game with this old character with new character along the line. So when you sit down and think about it, obviously you need new idea, and one of the way to have new idea is that you kind of like go into Zen mode, which is basically you meditate and think of you be in the peaceful mode and think out with new ideas along the line. And that is the second purpose of the vanishing room. So when people go around and saying that, hey, the room is actually just to make them voluntarily leave, if they can't come up with new idea, obviously they have to leave. But on the other hand, the vanishing room, like I mentioned, it can also be a good thing if they come up with new ideas to help bring new creativity to the game. But considering that at the same time that when they kind of report about the like, why is Bandai giving more resources to Dragon Ball and not other game, when other game was the one that bring that on the map of gaming industry and help to like get a lot of money along the line? Yeah, you can't really blame them when, like, number one, the game already gone stale in many ways, as well as that Dragon Ball actually have been reported to be bringing way more money than any other game, like their old Gundam or One Piece as well. So Gundam and One Piece is also one of the two oldest game from who know how long when. But when you kind of like considering that they have been on the losing end against Dragon Ball itself, obviously in a way you can definitely say that the Gundam and One Piece or even Naruto is not gaining any traction at all. People is going to just say it's not interesting anymore, and obviously people aren't going to kind of like think about trying to play the game anymore, or people trying to buy anything. At this point, the only way for them to gain more money is maybe just figuring of those merchandise, or like Gundam already got like the Gun Plus itself already, the Gundam model, and One Piece already got a lot of like figuring out there already. So obviously they don't really need to sell games. But at the same time, when you kind of like thinking about Dragon Ball, it's being sold for so many things, figurine, merchandise, and game itself. Obviously a lot of people will be going for it. But on the other hand, when you kind of like sit down and think about it, obviously when you have like people not trying to support those other like anime or games along the line, obviously the company will be saying like, hey, we want to make more money. Even if that game is making money, to them they just think it's not enough, they just want more money. So in a way, one of my favorite line from ABBA is basically money must be funny in the rich man world, because at this point of time they're just thinking about money no matter how you think about it. So no matter what people always think about, it's always back to the point that they still at the end of the way think about money. The reason why Ubisoft start laying off people is that if they want to make more money, or at least keep the value of their stock market, they also need to lay off people. So at the end, it's to back to money. But what about Sweet Baby Inc? Obviously, it's not just money itself. It's just that they are trying to highlight that if they don't kick out the problematic stuff, gamer will still going to go and attack the company. People are still going to attack the game company, and just all because that someone is still in the company. So when you kind of sit down about it, right now apparently Sweet Baby Inc is trying to so-called go back to lay low profile and kind of like removing their partnership or link to game company along the line. But it still doesn't mean that they are not being hired by those same company. Maybe they are just kind of like being hired but being told not to be like on the surface anymore. They kind of like dig underground back again and try to hope that people forget about them along the line. But when you kind of like sit down and think about it, right, people are just going to remember them. And it's just that the most problematic member is out. So if people go and search out on Reddit like Chris Kindred, his name is not going to be there apparently, but it doesn't mean that other employees not. So you have to like be very careful about who are they. But when you kind of like look around, they may be even trying to hide themselves at this point of time. So in order to make the company, like in order to make more money, they need to hide. And again, it's back to making money. So at the end of the day, gaming industry is no longer about entertainment. It's no longer about fun. It's not about gamers themselves. It's all back to making money, and I just feel like it's really kind of like pointless at this point of time for me to talk about it anymore. Like I've been talking about it like gaming throughout my random chat a lot of time, and it's just back to like just show how greedy this kind of company are, as well as that they don't even care about gamers as well. Even Bandai right now is not even innocent as well. But again, at the end of the day, everything is just my speculative thought. It's just a random chat. If you agree or disagree, or if you have your own take, your own view, or your own thing, do you think that game company is just thinking about money? They never care about us, or the gamers, or the employees? Write in the comment below. We can discuss it further. But if not, if you do like this video, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe for more random chat where I talk about stuff that sometimes makes sense, doesn't make sense, or totally random at time. But the one thing I hope that is not random is hope you guys have a nice day online. Bye.